Josip Broz Tito was born the 7th of May of 1892 from a father Croat and a Slovene mother in the village of Kumrovec, Croatia. In May of 1913, at the age of 21, he was listed in the Austro-Hungarian army because of World War I. 1 year later, he was promoted and became sergeant major, becoming the youngest sergeant of that time. Then he was captured by Russians during war. When he was in prison, he adopted the alias of Tito. In 1970, he joined the Bolsheviks. 1920, he went back to home, where he later joined the Communist Party of Yugoslavia. In 1937, he became the General Secretary. In 1939, the World War II started. The Yugoslavia was invaded by the Nazis, which Tito organized an army against the Nazis by herself and fight with them, which resulted victorious and liberated his country. In 1945, proclaiming the Popular Republic Federative of Yugoslavia, which became boss of government from 1945 to 1953. Then he became president of the Republic from 1953 to 1980. In 1948, he became in disagreement with Stalin, which caused the separation between the USSR. Which caused the start of new relations with Occidental countries. This worked for some time, but then they started economic problems, which he did not know would lead him to ruin of Yugoslavia. In 1980, Tito died, which was the end of his regime.
Ideology. Titoism is a post-World War II policy associated with Tito during the Cold War. He opposed to the Soviet Union. Titoism is characterized by policies that each country had, making the communism goals that Tito wanted possible. They must be dictated by a particular way of dictatorship on each country. He didn't want them to be as the other country patterns of dictatorship. He wanted his own unique form of dictatorship called Titoism. During Tito's era, his idea was that communism should be persuaded independently of what he referred as Stalin's imperialist policies of the Soviet Union. Tito made Stalin angry by agreeing with a Bulgarian leader, which meant to join two Balkan countries into one communist federation. Said this, Tito and George Dimitrov signed the Bled Agreement, also known as the Tito-Dimitrov Treaty, in 1947. Then, in 1948, Tito and Stalin split, cause Bulgaria subordinates the Soviet Union interest and stands against Yugoslavia.
During World War II, Yugoslavia was taken by the Axis power. As a response to this, two resistance were created to counter the invasion. The first to be created were the Chetniks, who were commanded by the ex-colonel Draza Mihailovic. The Chetniks established their main stronghold in the mountains of Runnagora. Most of the members in this rebellion were Serb peasants. The other resistance were the Partisans, which were commanded by Josip Broz or Tito, who led the underground Communist Party. The goal of Tito was to create a free country and create an independent socialist Yugoslavian state. After some battles, Tito managed to control an area in Yugoslavia and create a mini-communist state, which later was named Ucikl, which was 40 kilometers near from the Chetnik stronghold. During 1943, the partisans started to win more terrain over the Axis forces. After Italians surrendered, the partisans used the opportunity to take control of the weapons the Italian army left behind. In May 1944, Tito almost gets captured, but he escaped to the islands of Bis, in which he led the ultimate British forces over the Allies. Tito, because they were allied in the end with the Nazi or the Axis power.
During the time Tito was in power, a lot of human rights were violated. Some of the rights that were violated by Josip Tito were the right to life. Between 1944 and 1977, Josip Tito was accused for the murder of more than 2 million of Yugoslavs. He also violated the rights "we are all born free and equal, don't discriminate, and we are all equal before the law." This was a result of the rupture between the URSS and the Yugoslav government. Tito established a prison camp in an island to close up all his enemies. Finally, he also violated the right to democracy. This was because Josip Tito said that he didn't want a democracy in Yugoslavia because he must have all the power.
After 1974, Tito each time took more role like a statesman instead of a ruler of the country, and his direct participation in domestic politics and government will gradually decline. He was becoming sicker throughout 1979, and at the end his left leg was amputated shortly due to a constricted artery because of his sickness. Finally, he died on May 4, 1980, and his funeral attracted many statesmen in the world. Among the assistants, they include 4 kings, 30 presidents, 6 princes, 22 first ministers, and 47 ministers of foreign relations. They came from both sides, friends and foe, from 128 countries. And shortly after the death of Tito, a lot of speculation began the successors will continue about keeping Yugoslavia united. And actually, also the economy of Yugoslavia was getting worse and worse. At the end, because of the economic crisis, a lot of tensions between the peoples of the country were growing, and because of the rise of nationalist parties in Serbia and Slovenia and Croatia. At the end, in 1999, Slovenia and Croatia were independent. And in the same year, because of the tension that we mentioned before, a lot of bloody conflicts known as the Wars of Yugoslavia take place, and a lot of people died. The only 2 republics that decided to stay in the federation in 1992 was the Montenegro and Serbia, and at the end the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, that was composed of Serbia and Montenegro, on February 4th of 2203 they were still a state union, but then in 2006 Montenegro decided to separate from Serbia, and they become 2 independent states. Actually, Tito left a lot of influence in the Balkans in the 20th century, so his figure was a controversial figure, and he was considered a fighter in a search of authentic socialist and egalitarian model, as well as a diplomatic and a military person. But also he was accused for a lot of massacres before and after the Second World War. But his people still think that he was a very good ruler. So a lot of places were named on his honor, like Titograd, that is currently Podgorica, that is the capital of Montenegro, and Titova Mitrovica, that's now UCICE.